This is breaking news from the Las Vegas Review-Journal, sponsored by Michael Gaughan's South Point Hotel, Casino, and Spa.
Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Las Vegas Metropolitan Police Department Sheriff Kevin McMahill.
Feedback there. Hi, everybody. Yeah, I was just standing back and watching that video as it's playing there, and I'm thinking to myself, wow, I'm pretty lucky I get to lead all that stuff, right? So welcome to the State of the Department address, and I've got a lot of people to thank for being here. I'm going to do that at the end here. I want to just take a couple of minutes, though, because people always ask me, are you a little nervous to come up here and give this speech? And I'll tell you, the answer is always no. Because this is an opportunity for me to show the community what this police department, what this collective Southern Nevada first responder community has accomplished with the support of so many of our elected officials, and what the men and women of the Las Vegas Metropolitan Police Department have gone out and done day in and day out. And so, but it was interesting to me as I looked at some of the successes of the course of the Command, and I'm arresting the children of people that we had arrested previously. And I'm at about 20 years in my career at that point, and I wonder to myself, what are we really doing? Are we really making a difference? And there's lots of people around me at the time that are thinking the same thing, that are wondering, is policing only about arrest and incarceration, or is it about investment in human beings? Is it investment in community? Is it investment into finding opportunity for people that have no hope, for people that are not born into the same circumstances that other people are? And so we set about at that particular time to really find different ways to get deeper and deeper into our communities. Gary Schofield, I know, was out here somewhere and started the Safe Village Initiative over in West Las Vegas a couple years prior to that, and we'd had a number of you that had helped us on homicide response with the pastors coming out. But what we didn't have was we didn't have any real meaningful change in the way it was that we were out there to have an impact on the people in our community. And homicides were just through the roof, high numbers, people dying, gang violence is occurring, drugs are out of control, people don't feel safe. And so we started those investments, and what's very difficult about those investments is that they're not what cops have always been used to, which is seeing the immediacy of the results. Of you stop somebody, you put a pair of handcuffs on them, you take them to jail, you feel like you've accomplished something. When in reality, you've accomplished something by taking that individual off the street for that day, which is, by the way, still important for us to do. But the reality is that we have to be part of this community and invested in this community and believe in this community, inject humanity into this community so that we can have long-term impacts on this community. So what we're going to show you today is the result of literally dozens and dozens of years of working towards having a different impact on our community in ways that I think you're going to be extremely proud of. And so as I was reflecting on what that looks like, and the truth is the police department is judged by crime, right? And so overall crime is down. We can talk a lot about all of crime and the things that drive crime, but violent crime in particular down 4.3%. Property crime down 9.4%. Officer-involved shootings. This was something that we've talked about for a very long time when it comes to the issues between police departments and communities, but particularly communities of color. And we've had our own challenges. As you know, the Department of Justice came in with the COPS office and had review of the Las Vegas Metropolitan Police Department's 25 officer-involved shootings, and we worked together, comprehensive use of force reform. We built a reality-based training center. We're holding officers accountable for what it is they're doing and how it is they're doing it. But we didn't have a place to properly train them, to expose them to the real-time challenges of what is happening on the streets. So we, through the help of many of you, through our foundation, I know they're here somewhere, we built a world-class training facility up there. We're putting our officers through it. We have a new partnership with Henderson and a number of other folks. All of our cops in the valley and all of our firefighters, I know Billy's here, we're training together in ways that we've never trained together. But these officer-involved shootings, the challenge was, I wanted you to cut them by 50%. This was last year. We went from 17 in 2024 to 7 in 2025. It's a 58% decrease. Now, those of you that are not in law enforcement and in sort of maybe oversight of law enforcement, do me a favor. I know all these other major city chiefs, all 58 of them. Go find any major city in the United States of America today that has even half the population that's considered a major city. There are none of them below double digits. Nobody in the country is even remotely close to what your police department here is in the valley. Now, I want to caveat that with something. We started off this year having some very difficult shootings. One just the other day where a man walked out with a 2-year-old child and shot that child in front of our police officers before our police officers have to take action. The suspect often dictates what occurs, and so we're off to a difficult challenge this year to maintain that number as low, but there's sometimes the police officers are put into places where there's nothing else that they can do, and in that case, they acted extremely heroically and having to see one of the most challenging things we've ever seen in law enforcement. Homicides. Homicides is another number that we've really challenged ourselves with over the course of the last couple of years. When I took over as the sheriff 3 years ago, we had 158 homicides. Last year, we ended up with 90. That's the first time we've been under 100 homicides in, I believe, almost my entire career. We went from 158 or 115 the year before down to 90, and overall, since I started as your sheriff, we've had a 43% decrease in homicides. I'm saying I because I'm up here talking, I suppose, but I, of course, give all the credit to the men and women that are out there doing this work, but also the leaders on this organization and the support of our elected officials, because it goes a long way to know that you have our back as we're here. But I want you to look at that number, and I want you to remember something. There's a name behind every one of those homicides. There's a name behind the decrease in those homicides, and there's a whole bunch more people at the holiday table. This year we had Ramadan and Lent start on the same day, and we have people that are sitting around those holiday tables that would have never been there in years past because of the efforts of law enforcement in our community. And 90, still far too many, but we're going to continue that downward trend as we move forward. In fact, we're already at a downward trend at the beginning of this year, and I'm extremely proud of what these guys have done. Just one of the statistics that's in there, domestic violence is still a leading causal factor of our homicides. We're going to work diligently on domestic violence. And also, last year, we only had 5 homicides committed by juveniles, but that was a significant decrease from the year before, where we had 18 of those homicides that were committed by juveniles, and that's a direct result of the gang unit putting together a juvenile task force to focus in on the violence by those juveniles. Whose kid is that, anyway? Oh, that's my grandkid. Never mind. All right, you say whatever you want. All right. There's a video here that's going to speak for itself, and I'm going to let it just sort of play. But we created this violent gun crime unit that has had an impact like no other in our jurisdiction. This group of people we put together because we saw that we have a homicide solve rate in the high 90s year over year over year. But when we had a shooting that did not result in a homicide, there was disparate groups that investigated. It could have, if it was narcotics related, narcotics would investigate it, vice, gangs, and it wasn't the same group of people with the entirety of the agency approach to go in and look at these things. And you'll see the statistics on here, but here's the point. When we were at a level of solving these non-fatal shootings at only sometimes 30%, we had an opportunity to go in and take known shooters off the street if we had a better solve rate here. Watch what they did.
Of how can we reduce violent crime and focusing strategically on shootings. And we looked at it from how shootings were being investigated and the solvability rate. And if we put a team together that focused strictly on shootings, how can we increase that solvability rate, which would ultimately reduce violent crime in itself? So the Violent Gun Crime Unit was established in 2024. The current makeup of it is 1 lieutenant, 4 sergeants, and 4 teams. Each team consists of 8 detectives, 32 detectives in total.
We had a very simple goal, and it was to reduce the number of homicides and to reduce violent crime by strategically investigating these crimes with proactive investigations, strategic enforcement, and a rapid response when a citizen was shot in our city that didn't result in a homicide. It entailed quite a heavy lift on the agency. We had to figure out where we were going to pull bodies from to create this new section because we weren't getting new detective spots. With the help of the area commands and everybody in the organization, we were able to take a total of 20 bodies, 2 teams of 10, and create these 2 teams initially in 2024.
Getting young, motivated cops, giving them the opportunity to be mentored and guided to be successful detectives, but having that eagerness to want to go out and catch bad guys.
In 2024, when the Violent Gun Crime Unit was created, October 29th, 2024, we had 43 cases until the end of the year, and we had a 100% success rate. In 2025, we had 249 cases that the Violent Gun Crime Unit investigated with a 98% success rate.
Those numbers are huge. Those numbers are a result of motivated detectives, phenomenal leadership that understand the importance of getting violent people off the street before that results in a homicide. We were under 100 homicides. We haven't been under 100 homicides in many, many years.
With the success of the Violent Gun Crime Unit, it's safe to say that if you commit a shooting in our jurisdiction, that you will be caught.
But the thing I'm actually most happy about is not only the solve rate, but the collaboration between multiple different sections within this organization and the relationships that it's built between detectives, sergeants, lieutenants, captains, and the collaboration and communication that continues to happen. Everybody working together with the resources we have to make it a whole agency approach, understanding that with that mindset and with those relationships, we build a safer community, which is ultimately the vision of this organization.
It's pretty good stuff. So, traffic fatalities, you've heard me say this out loud. This is one area we didn't do so well on. In fact, we've got lots of initiatives that we're announcing here in partnership with some of our electeds here in the near future. Also, we're looking to increase another traffic squad. But they've also done a lot of things with the current resources that we have. They launched what they're calling the Life Squad, because you know cops love acronyms, which lives improved, fatalities eliminated. They launched that September 20th, and since the launch until the middle of January, in those particular areas, traffic fatalities have decreased 18%, and the number of citations that we've issued have gone up 60%. So, but look, here's the numbers. 2025, we went up two fatalities. And I want you all to think of something here. You have a much more high likelihood of dying leaving here today than you do driving home than you do by an act of violence. And as we all move forward collectively, this is not simply a metro problem. This is not a police problem. This is not an enforcement problem. In fact, we've done some great work along Boulder Highway with the help of the county of just installing a fence, and our fatalities went in that area almost down to zero. There's lots of engineering stuff that we can do. There's lots of education stuff that we can do. And we're going to continue collectively amongst all the police departments to make sure that we start to save some of those lives that we're losing in our community. Technology, as you know, I mentioned when I took over as the sheriff that I want to make Metro the most technologically advanced police department in the country. We are well on our way. If you haven't seen our drone center, you're missing out something spectacular. But just not the drone center, folks. We've gotten private donations to get 10 cyber trucks. There's 10 more on the way. We got the grappler, which is reducing these guys' ability to get away from us from pursuits where we go up and drop a net and stick it over their tire and stop them from going. Lots of homicide suspects are being taken away. SWAT now has the Rook. We have ShotSpotter, mobile drones as a first responder, the Drone Ops Center, facial recognition technology. The idea is that we utilize this technology to make it impossible to commit crimes in our community and reduce victimization, and we are going to continue to press the envelope on that as we move forward.
Control Fusion Watch 14, I'll copy that work up on South Las Vegas Boulevard. We'll get that to you shortly.
Yeah, we've got movement in the zone. Standby tracking now. Drone team launch. We've got eyes. Fusion confirmed trajectory. Copy. Tracking in real time. Units converge. Control, Fusion Watch, threat located. Control, Fusion Watch, visual confirmed. Fusion, visuals confirmed. Stand by. Suspect is in the northeast corner. You're cleared to move now. Fusion, threats located. Copy. Situation contained. Good work.
And just before I walked up here, we'd had a SWAT barricade that had been working all night. And guy had told us we were going to have to kill him, told his girl or wife, whoever it was, as he chased her out of the place, that we were going to kill him. And our SWAT team, again, successfully negotiated and ended that without him dying through the use of the technology and the expertise that they have. Just exceptional work. Years ago, we would have just killed him. I'm being honest. They're saving lives in ways that we would have never been able to do this. This next piece, all of you know that this part is near and dear to my heart. I talked about the heart, mind, body, and soul of our police officers and our first responders here as we continue to move this thing forward. We went 2 years without a suicide at Metro, folks. That's never happened in my 35 years. And I just want to highlight that for you. We have a wall of honor of police officers that hangs up at Metro, and those people lost their lives in the line of duty. There's not a wall of honor for those that took their lives because of the way this job impacts us. If we did, that wall would be 2 or 3 times the size of the one because of the amount of people that have chosen to take their lives. We're going to do something about this. We're continuing to do something about this. Over 450 visits a month to our 7 clinicians. But I'll tell you something, we're having a lot of conversations. Dr. Tenney, James Kilber, the architect of this, we're still reactive when it comes to wellness. And it waits for a failure point. And so we had an entire conversation about what does Wellness 2.0 look like as we move forward. And we're talking about early identification of key indicators and issues before they become problems. Wellness training so that you already have a built-in resiliency, emotional regulation, and stress management. And it's going to start back in the academy again. And we're going to start the education piece so that you don't necessarily need wellness only when you're in a crisis, but wellness is taught from the very, very beginning. As we move into this next year, it's always simple to talk about what you've done. But I decided that I wanted to really, and you heard Brian Peterson talk about this, because what we've really looked at here and seen some of the great success that we have here is I wanted to put these things in each one of the silos surrounded by a larger silo, led by a deputy chief and a captain with an focus on all of these things. And so if you look at our priorities in the coming year of violent crime reduction, homicide reduction, OIS reduction, traffic fatalities, Wellness 2.0, and unhoused violence reduction. The point of all of these is that they're going to be led by a chief and a captain, and they're going to be worked on in our action process every other week. We're going to report out on these things, but the mentality is that not only is it not just my responsibility, an undersheriff's responsibility to talk about what our strategies and our tactics are going to be, but this is, again, a whole-of-agency approach. But when we talk about whole-of-agency is I'm finally getting to the point where everybody understands it's not a Metro problem. These are not all Metro problems. These are a society problem. So inviting electeds in, inviting city and county and nonprofits and others that have a heart to help us to try new strategies. If they don't work, fine, we'll throw it away and try something else. But to bring in experts from all over our valley, all over the nation to say, try this, this is working, this is what we're going to continue to do to drive our numbers down. I want to talk about this quality of life here for a second, and I want to play you a little video here. But when you look at the quality of life stuff that we're talking about, there's a saying that hurt people hurt people. I believe that, we haven't done enough as Metro to get involved with some of this unhoused issue in particular. I took my leadership team over to the UMC Crisis Stabilization Center, and we're developing programs over there to connect people to resources so they're not out there. Look, this is not humane. Okay, we can talk about how do you deal with unhoused, but it's also not humane for people to live in our bridges, under our roadways. We've got to do something better, and we know that mental health, addiction, and homeless all collide into a variety of different ways, but we as a group of people in law enforcement are going to go in and figure something out about how it is that we can do better around this. And let me tell you why. Our homeless homicides numbers in 2025 were 13. Unhoused. So when people tell you, oh, you know, homeless, it's 13 people died in an unhoused encampment last year. That's a 44% increase from the year before. So this is a good example of what it is that we're going to continue to do.
Well, both my parents died, and my brother had to sell their house, and I got no money from when they died, so I'm right here. I wasn't homeless in Henderson, though. I had a home. I was married, divorced. It's just a big, drawn-out story. I wasn't ready for any of this. I wasn't prepared. When my parents died, I wasn't prepared for any of it. It's very hard. I mean, you don't know when you're going to get your next meal. You don't know when you're going to shower again. You don't know anything. And it's always up in the air. It gets real tiring. Sucks.
So when we interact with the unhoused population, our main goal is to get them off the street. So meeting them with hostility is not the way to go. You give people respect, you get it back usually. Do you have stuff you need?
I like to have an understanding of initially why they ended up on the street. That's a way for us to maybe possibly point them the right direction as to which resources is better.
A lot of our time and effort is put into this particular issue. And it is an important issue because, again, it's a safety issue, not only for the citizens, but the unhoused population as well. It's important to, show humility and humanize the unhoused. Oftentimes, they're victims from other unhoused individuals. Also, the public doesn't necessarily always have the best perception of them as well.
Okay.
Giving them a moment to talk and kind of explain their story kind of gives you a better understanding of how they got where they are, and just kind of shows we're all human, we're all struggling.
All right. Well, I appreciate you talking to me today. All right. Have a good day. Okay.
I would love for us to not have to come out and take people's stuff that they leave behind, because oftentimes that's all they really have.
It's just an extension of injecting humanity into all it is that we do, which is the philosophy of Metro. And so we're gonna really double down on this in this coming year and clean this up and get the resources and get people to the places and connected to the right things here in our community. I put this up here again because this is a huge part of where we're going this next year. We're going to continue to look at every option that we have to work in partnership with the city and county and to do something about making our roadways safe. We're losing far too many. I've already said this once, but I wanted to highlight it again because it's particularly important to me. Now, let's talk a little bit about future. The future of Las Vegas. It's a pretty cool graphic they put together for me there. Homeland security, another huge issue. We've seen it ourselves, folks. I mean, I'll talk a little bit about a few of these things, but we had a foiled ISIS-inspired plot, a recent credible school threat. Y'all know we had this big biohazard lab here in town linked to a foreign country. We had the bombing at the Trump Tower. We had the bombing at Piero's. The list goes on and on and on and on. And just last night, our counterterrorism teams were out and are still out working on an event that occurred here in our valley, and I'll obviously be talking about that later. But again, it looks to have been a credible counterterrorism threat. Homeland Security is a particular area where when instability rises overseas, whether it's in the Middle East or other regions, it doesn't stay there. When you look at the individual that traveled from Colorado to blow up the truck at Trump Towers, why did he pick Las Vegas? The one I'm talking about today, we're going to find out. Why did he come from New York to southern Nevada? We don't know. But it travels through ideology, through online platforms. We're going to hear more about that, and sometimes into our own communities. And so Homeland Security, to me, we see a degradation of what it is that we have relied on for a long time in both the federal world with the focus on more immigration-type issues, as well as the reality is that local law enforcement for many years has relied on the New York Police Department and the intelligence apparatus there, their forward deployment, their sharing of information through NYPD, SHIELD, and a number of their other Century and a number of their other programs. And today, that's not nearly as robust as it used to be. And we all feel at Metro that we continue to be a target, and we must do something different about it. When something happens anywhere in the world that could impact Las Vegas, we will not wait days or weeks for a report. The team will assess it immediately and provide real-time analysis to the decision makers, not only myself, but our elected officials here in our city. Second, we're expanding our counterterrorism readiness by adding another squad to ensure continuous operational coverage. I can tell you our counterterrorism teams have worked harder than ever before. They're overwhelmed, and I need to give them some additional resources to be effective in keeping our community safe. Intelligence without action is not enough. Our counterterrorism unit the threat that they see gets worse day by day. This expansion will increase our counterterrorism coverage and ensure we can act quickly. Third, we're investing over $1 million in private donations and grant funds to modernize not only the drone center, which we just did, but the entire Fusion Center workspace, bringing it to the exact same advanced level as the drones. Fourth, we're going to establish a global intelligence network through dedicated liaison posts in key cities and international locations. Yes, that means LVMPD personnel stationed in other cities and traveling to connect with other partner agencies that experience terrorist attacks, learning firsthand, privately funded, so that Project Meridian can ensure to have the global goal of connectivity to match the global threats our community faces. Bottom line is, there's no choice anymore. We have to do this. Together, these efforts are going to strengthen our ability to understand, prevent, and identify these threats before they reach our community. It's about foresight, it's about speed, and it's about prevention. And I'm particularly excited about it. The second one, I didn't really like the name on this one because I think they're trying to call it the Kevin Project. It's probably going to change, but whatever, that's what they came up. It's all actually called the KVN Project, and it's we've made Metro the most technologically advanced police department in the country. I've already talked about this. Drones, trucks, high-tech crime-fighting solutions. We've raised the bar high. But technology doesn't stand still. In fact, it'll pass you by. If you want to lead in this profession, you can't slow down. You have to keep building. You have to keep adapting, and you have to keep looking ahead. This new project, the KVM project, this year, LVMPD will be among the first law enforcement agencies in the nation to build its own AI brain. Yep, you heard me right, an AI brain. Now, I still don't know how to turn my damn phone on, so I won't be building the AI brain. But as I've said before, here's what I know. I'm not good at technology. I'm no technologist, but I know how to build teams. I know how to cast a vision. I know how to kick doors down and let the right people build what it is that we need to do. That AI brain is going to interconnect our technology systems so that our information flows smoothly, securely, and intelligently. This will be one of the most impactful technology projects we've ever embarked on, and it will enhance every aspect of our organization from crime fighting to employee wellness. But I want to tell you where this came from. A couple years ago, Mike Gennaro, there was a couple of us that sat around and asked, well, there's a futurist project. We met with a technology gaming company here. It's the first folks that developed those gaming machines that you see have the big sloped. Every game, it used to be you sat down and looked at the little video poker, and now it's all the the Buffalo ones and all these other. Well, we asked them, well, how'd you guys come up with that? Because their profit on those things were 10x versus what these other things were. And he said, well, we had this futurist community come together. So we said, well, what about a futurist group for Metro? What about a futurist group for policing? So we put those folks together. He funded it for us. They brought in a number of folks, did a number of presentations, and we put together some committees. And through our Future Policing Initiative Committee, people always assume it's just from the outside, but we put these folks together, and the team inside the department, I've got to say a couple names here: Callie Burns, Monica Pondy, Shiloh Johnson, Chris Woods, and Jordan Mitchell sat down. They asked a simple, powerful question: what would it look like if we had our own AI brain? Not something flashy, not something that's impossible to achieve. It's something that we could go and get and make from concept to creation. Don't let it sit there on a whiteboard. They went out and they put this thing together, and this year we are going to execute what that looks like. Give you a little bit more on this. It's going to work for, the K is for knowledge. It's going to go in and I just instead of giving you all this long story, let me give it to you like this. For years, we have a suspect that maybe we sent to prison 7 years ago that had a particular MO. They did robberies a particular way, and then 7 years ago they go to jail, and now all of a sudden we have a robbery series that's similar to that one, but unless we still have those same detectives working in the same place on the same things, we forget that individual is our suspect from 7 years ago. But what if we now have an ability to go into all of our systems, find out put in the MO, the suspect description, the vehicle, the locations, but also bounce off the prison system to say, hey, that guy got out just a couple of months ago, and now we have an ability to go in and look at a suspect right now and solve these crimes in a much faster manner than we ever have in the past. This thing is going to dramatically change the way it is that we have the ability to investigate. It's going to put timelines together. It's going to shorten internal affairs investigations. It's going to be able to take from our systems the things that take officers hours to do, to put together, and radically change where we're at. This kind of technology is how we're going to stay at the front of becoming the most technologically policed department in the country. Less time buried in paperwork, more time focused on leadership, accountability, and service. This is how we're preparing your community, your police department, and I'm particularly proud of our teams that are making this happen. Now, I would be remiss to say there's a number of folks here today that I also want to thank. First and foremost is the chairman of the Clark County Commission. I think you guys are over here. Mike Naft, Commissioner Tick Segerbloom, Commissioner Jim Gibson. Thank you all for your support for your police department and the work it is that you all do day in and day out to support our men and women. I assure you that they feel that, and we're particularly grateful. I think there's the mayor. Hi, Mayor Shelley Berkeley, Brian Knutson. Brian was there. Councilman Knutson. He's really helping out on a lot of the traffic stuff. Councilwoman Karen Kelly and Councilwoman Frances Allen Polinsky, great supporter of law enforcement, and please thank them all as well, because I'll tell you something. As the sheriff, I talk to a lot of my partners across this country, and there are a lot of people that don't enjoy the support of their elected officials, and that's why you see city after city failing in law enforcement. You see cities that are failing, cities you don't even want to visit anymore because they've turned their back on law enforcement. Not here in Las Vegas. Maurice, I haven't seen you yet, but thank you again for opening up the Fontainebleau and this great resort to your police department and you and your team. Also, Encore Productions, who's all in the back. You guys have been fantastic to us. And finally, there's a number of my MMAC Multicultural Committee folks that are here that drive Metro day in and day out, month after month, to be better than we were. Thank you all for everything it is that you do. And then my final is my family, my wife, my granddaughter. we have lots of long days and lots of long nights, and I appreciate you all for supporting us as we move forward. I have the best executive staff. Sorry for the rest of you police chiefs, but I have some great police chiefs that are here. Reggie from Henderson, Jason from the city, Jackie from North Las Vegas. I don't know, the U.S. Marshals here. I'm sure I missed somebody, which is why I hate naming names, but thank you all. Thank you for supporting the Metropolitan Police Department, and on to bigger and better things as we move forward in this new year. God bless each and every one of you, and thank you.
You've been watching breaking news from the Las Vegas Review-Journal, sponsored by Michael Gaughan's South Point Hotel, Casino, and Spa.